What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, unified, WBC, IBF, welterweight, world champion, superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 21 big wins by way of knockout, 31 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. With that said, Errol Spence will be facing off against Cuban star boxer who's the World Boxing Association, better known as the WBA welterweight world champion, champion YORDENIS UGAS, who is 27 wins, 4 losses, no draws, 12 wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, 5'9" with a 69-inch arm reach. That's scheduled to take place April 16th in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium, better known as Jerry's World. With that said, Errol Spence has a message to the fans and to the boxing world. It's big fish time, and I'm collecting all the straps. There's many people speculating that Errol Spence won't make the biggest fight in the sport of boxing happen between himself and undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout. Terence Crawford is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. With that said, Errol Spence, we know in 2.5 years he's had one fight. He had the fight that took place with him and Danny Swift Garcia, 2-division world champion, Puerto Rican superstar boxer, December 5th of 2020. That came off of, after Errol Spence came off a 14-month layoff after suffering a horrific car accident, just 12 days after unifying the belts against 2-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Showtime Shawn Porter, September 28th of 2019. So with that said, we know Errol Spence, he had a major setback. And then Errol Spence, he was scheduled to come back against legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pacquiao, August 21st of 2021. But Errol Spence, he suffered a broken detached retina 2 weeks before the fight took place in a routine checkup for all boxers heading into a big fight. So with that said, he had to be removed from the fight. So there's a lot of doubters. Now, Errol Spence, he dominated Danny Garcia, and Errol Spence himself admitted that he was only 80% of himself in the fight with Danny Swift Garcia. So with that said, you know, there's a lot of question marks, people wondering and questioning, can Errol Spence come back? Is he still going to be healthy? Can he still be the same guy he once was, once upon a time, the dominating, can he recapture that dominating force he once was, and stopping his fighters? And, you know, I had one of Errol Spence's sparring partners on who said that, you know, Errol Spence nearly knocked him out in sparring, okay? That Errol Spence, you know, is quicker than he's ever been. He's stronger than he's ever been. He has more power than he felt that he ever had, you know, and he stated that, you know, he believes Errol Spence is going to stop YORDENIS UGAS. Now, obviously, YORDENIS UGAS in 31 fights is not the biggest puncher in the world, okay? YORDENIS UGAS has 12 knockouts in 31 fights. But what YORDENIS UGAS is a very skilled, very technically sound, very accurate puncher, right? He comes from this Cuban school of boxing. So when Errol Spence comes from that Cuban school of boxing, you know, Errol Spence, man, when you come from that Cuban school of boxing, Errol Spence is going to have a bit of trouble with YORDENIS UGAS, because Cuban school boxers, they arguably have the best teaching of boxers, technically, okay? And so, yes, that's going to, I believe the Cuban school's skill set of YORDENIS UGAS is going to give Errol Spence problems. But I think that Errol Spence is going to figure it out, and I think that Errol Spence is going to end up, you know, stopping YORDENIS UGAS, okay? Or at least, you know, Errol Spence is going to win a unanimous decision. So with that said, you know, Errol Spence is letting the fans know and letting the boxing world know, I'm on deck, okay? 2022 is my year, okay? I'm going to capture Undisputed. Letting the fans know and assuring the fans the Terence Crawford fight is going to happen. Now, we know we saw Premier Boxing Champion PBC exec and spokesperson, came out. That being Tim Smith. Shouts out to Tim Smith. I like Tim Smith, a good dude. Tim Smith, he came out. He stated that he feels like Terence Crawford may price himself out of the fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, which is the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. Okay, but we also know that the PBC was willing to put up $45 to $50 million for 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer, who currently the undisputed super middleweight, that being Saul Canelo Alvarez, to face Jamal Charlo, which they were going to have to pay Canelo Alvarez about $45 to $50 million and pay Jamal Charlo about $10 million. Okay, so now it's about $60 million since Canelo Alvarez decided to go in a different direction, and it looks like Canelo Alvarez is going to fight a 2-fight deal with DAZN to face Dimitri Bivol, and then it's being reported that he'll face Triple G on the back end. Okay, now they freed up that money, so that money is available. Now, obviously, Terence Crawford, he's in a legal situation, dispute with his former longtime promotional company and top rank and legendary promoter and CEO, Bob Arum, because Terence Crawford cited some injustices on the part of them. So with that said, Errol Spence said that, it's the road to undisputed. He let you know. The road to undisputed has started now. He has 2 fights or 3 fights left at welterweight. He's looking to go up to junior middleweight and secure his legacy at junior middleweight and there beyond. Okay, so Errol Spence let it be known that he will be looking forward to fighting Terence Crawford after this fight with Yordenis Ugas. But obviously, first things first, got to get past Yordenis Ugas, and then Terence Crawford is going to be on the table. Errol Spence has stated this numerous times over. Okay, Errol Spence had let the world know that his objective was to face off against Terence Crawford, but he wanted to ultimately secure all the belts. Okay, his plan is to get all the belts. It's strap season. Okay, so he has no interest in not collecting all these belts. Okay, so Errol Spence lets it be known there's fans that question, because after Tim Smith made those comments, right, it was deflating to the fans, because many fans, they feel like we're never going to get the fight that we're looking for. The biggest fight in boxing is Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. This has happened before. In the past, we didn't get Lennox Lewis versus Riddick Bowe. We never got Aaron Pryor versus Sugar Ray Leonard. We never got Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. We never got Jamel Charlo and Jarrett Swift Hurd. There's many fights that have eluded us because of the politics within the sport of boxing. And so fans are hoping that this is not the case with this situation. They're hoping that we indeed get a fight where Errol Spence and Terence Crawford come to fruition, so we can truly see who is the best welterweight in the world. And I believe the winner of Terence Crawford and Errol Spence ultimately will tell us who's the best fighter in the world. Okay, why? Because we know that Canelo Alvarez is a 4-division world champion. Canelo Alvarez is seen as the face of the sport of boxing. That's how Canelo Alvarez is ultimately viewed. Okay, but at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez has a few questionable wins, and we know he lost to Floyd Mayweather every single round. He has 2 draws on his resume. Some people feel like he lost both the fights to Triple G. Some people feel like, he lost the fight to Erislandy Lara. So there's questionable wins on his resume, okay? And not to mention the level of opposition that he beat at super middleweight, okay? He did beat Caleb Plant, he beat Billy Joe Saunders, and he beat Caleb Smith, but he never beat, what is seen as the best super middleweight and undefeated 2-time WBC super middleweight world champion Mexican superstar boxer David Benavidez. So there's a lot of questions that surround Canelo Alvarez, and not to mention Canelo Alvarez tested positive for a banned substance. So all of these things cloud over to Canelo Alvarez as far as his credibility goes. But I believe that Canelo Alvarez is a very good fighter. I believe that Canelo Alvarez has the opportunity now, since he's going to face Dimitri Bivol May 7th. I think that Canelo Alvarez can become undisputed in 2 short fights at light heavyweight. Because Joe Smith and Artur Beterbiev are going to fight for 3 belts. Artur Beterbiev has the WBC and the IBF, similar to Errol Spence having WBC and IBF, and Joe Smith has the WBO. So they're looking to fight in the summertime in massive unification bout. And then I believe that, Canelo Alvarez beats Dimitri Bivol, he'll have the WBA. two-time light heavyweight champion, and then Canelo Alvarez in one more short fight could fight the winner of that fight and become undisputed. So definitely could stake his claim as the best fighter in the world. But you get Errol Spence's skill set and Terence Crawford's skill set, two undefeated fighters at the apex of their game. You know, two of the top 3 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. They'll solidify themselves as the best. So Errol Spence, he lets it be known. Don't worry, I'm going after Terence Crawford after I beat YORDENIS UGAS. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.